My name is Sam Shihab.
I'm Brian Burke.
And we are from the law firm of Sam Shihab and Associates. It's 6 o'clock on Monday, which means we will be spending an hour together, not a week, an hour together.
Go a week, Sam.
Yeah, we can do it. An hour together to talk about immigration law. So we're going to have a little bit different format today to kind of vary things, to kind of create an interest a little bit. So we're going to start taking questions right away to the extent they're available. And we're going to jump in and out of our kind of a general topic. This time we're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to talk about the reconciliation bill. We're going to talk about the September visa bulletin.
It's out.
And we're going to talk about whether or not there's going to be a second H-1B lottery this year. Well, it's not a lottery, but another
second round of the H-1B lottery.
Yes. And there's a lot of talk about prevailing wage determination processing time delays. They have a conversation. And initially, we were going to talk about the visa bulletin release date, or the VB release date, except that it's released already, it's out. And we're going to talk about it today because we just looked at it, and we're going to share it with you.
That was breaking news. I was preparing this presentation. I said, oh, gee golly gosh, the visa bulletin is out for September.
Yes.
And here we are.
And we're going to be discussing all these things when we come back. You want to take it? All right, so following on what we have promised, we're going to start with questions.
Yeah, so from Aki Varani, do you see immigration reform this year, or any thoughts on the registry bill? So,
excellent question. We were talking about whether or not, I mean, what the heck? I mean, they passed this reconciliation bill, or about to pass it.
And made it through the Senate. It's going to come on its way to the House right now,
And they have excluded any immigration thing, and as supported by the American Immigration Lawyer Association, please don't do any harm, don't do anything to immigration in this bill.
Yeah, that's AILA, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, of which we are both members.
Yes. Yes.
And those guys are saying, don't touch immigration in this bill. Why? I mean, for anybody who's not aware, versions of this reconciliation bill have had massive immigration recapture provisions in them.
And they're gone, disappearing. But back to the question, do you see immigration reform this year, or any thoughts on registry bill? I don't see it.
Massive, immigration reform? No, sir.
Let's take the next question.
Yeah.
All right.
So from Hema, once the I-45 application is moved to the NBC, can it be moved back to the original service center? Under what conditions?
I have seen it moving back to a service center, or to another service center for that matter.
Yeah. So the answer is yes. Under what conditions? That's for USCIS to know, and likely us to never find out, is my take on that.
Yeah, it's not something that is common. We have seen it, and every time we see it, we say, what the heck is going on?
It's disappointing to people because they know that
frustrating too.
The service centers are slow, and the field offices are making better, quicker decisions on cases. So
yeah, but we do not know what conditions necessarily. That obviously something that the local office wasn't able to handle.
I suppose. I mean, that's something. Maybe they have better legal, resources, attorneys in the service centers who are able to delve into those complex questions that maybe the field office folks who, again, don't usually deal with employment-based stuff.
Yes.
That's a good point.
All right. So let's jump in on the reconciliation bill for about 3-4 minutes, and then back to the next question. I see Sweet Seller will be the next person here. We're going to be taking his question in a couple of minutes. But let's talk about the reconciliation bill for a little bit.
Yeah, so this is previously known as Build Back Better Act, now known as Inflation Reduction Act. It is Inflation Relief Act, Inflation Reduction Act, I believe.
Yeah.
It has passed the Senate and is now on its way to the House. And the prediction there, I'm sorry, Sam?
It has passed the Senate on 100% party line vote, with Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States, coming down to the Senate and exercising her constitutional right to break a tie in the Senate, 50-50, 51-50.
Yeah, 51-50, yeah.
Which is basically as tight as it gets,
Yeah.
and now is moved on to
The House.
the House.
Where the Democrats in the House, they're the ones sponsoring this whole thing, for the record. It's, part of the president's big, try to get stuff done agenda. The Democrats in the House have a margin of, I believe it's about 10 people versus the Republicans, meaning they should be able to pass this in the House.
And I think the statement coming from the House that they intend to pass it precisely in the way it's presented.
Yeah.
And by the way, the House is in a recess until next month.
Yeah. So but it seems like it's going to pass, and everything I'm reading says they don't not making any changes on it, because if they were to make changes, they'd have to be,
They have to send it back to the Senate to vote on, which means Kamala Harris has to come back again to vote on it to break the tie. This is the only time that she came down, when they told her we got the 50 votes, and probably she got some promises, I'm assuming, from the House that this is it. So she came down and she broke the tie. And this bill has all kind of good stuff, but has zero immigration.
Yeah.
And let's take a question here. To keep it kind of interesting, see if that format interests people. So I got a question from Sweet Seller. After getting green card, should H-1B documents, old passport with stamps, be preserved for citizenship? Any documents from H-1B be required for citizenship at all? Okay, so what do you think of that question?
So I'll dodge that question first, and I'll say I don't think I've ever been asked about that sort of stuff in the context of a naturalization application. However, I don't see any sense of getting rid of it.
Destroying these things.
Yeah.
I honestly, I'll share that I have my 1980 passport when I first came to the U.S. with my F1 student stamp on it. I don't look at it often, but every 4 or 5 years, once I pull that drawer and clean it, I open and look at it, and I go, oh, I thought that date, okay, yeah. Okay, and then put it away, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, old passports with, actually, I'll make a comment on old passports with preserved stamps. I mean, one of the things that's required for your naturalization, which is, again, it's not going to be, they do require your history of your time in the United States, but all that is a green card. I mean, it's unlikely to come up, but,
chances are less than 1%.
Oh, yeah.
But don't get rid of old documents. Would that be a good answer, Brian?
I would say I would agree with that. That's simple and short and to the point, sir.
All right, sounds good. So let's take one more here and get back on our reconciliation bill after that.
So here we are, priority date 2/2017 on 6+ years H-1B cap with cap exempt H-1B. Can I transfer my H-1B to another company? Do I have to apply in April and wait until October, or should I wait for the priority date to become current?
So first of all,
good question, I think.
Oh, it's an excellent question. We don't want you to make decisions based on dropping us a note and giving you a quick answer, because every time we are encountering with a life-changing events and decisions, we want you to be protected. And when we answer questions quickly, we give you general answers.
Yeah.
And therefore, before you make a move, hire a lawyer.
Yeah.
But beyond 6 years, cap exempt H-1B, Brian?
Well, yeah, I just want to say, by talking to a lawyer, obviously, if you're on H-1B status, your employer probably has a lawyer, but it is possible for you to talk to a lawyer about, your personal circumstances outside that to get, advice from, your personal perspective and not from the corporate perspective. So, so the general rule is, as long as your I-140 has been approved for more than 180 days, you can leave your company, and that company, if they so desire, can withdraw your I-140, but that I-140 is left approved. So great. That means you can use that I-140 to extend your H-1B with another company beyond 6 years. Great. I guess there's one thing to worry about as your priority date gets close to current, whether it's an opportune time to move, However, this priority date of February 2017 is, about 2 years off from current. So that's, it doesn't seem as unlikely that's going to be hit in the immediate future. So I guess the problem you have is, if you're leaving that company behind, you have to pursue a new green card with that new company if you'd like to get a green card through them.
New labor certification,
Yeah.
new I-140.
Yeah.
So there is a blog on our website that has a chart.
Ooh, that's a good chart.
That's a great chart that talks about changing employment at what stage in the green card process. And I think there's about 10 to 12 or 14 scenarios. So what's the consequence if I change my job if I file my labor certification but it's not approved? And then it goes on and talks about after the labor certification but before the I-140. And it talks about while the I-140 is pending. And it talks about after the I-140 is approved, and so on.
Yeah.
So it's an excellent blog. Go on our website, immigrationvisaattorney.com.
Oh, it's right there at the bottom of the page there.
Yep.
Ding.
Yep.
Yeah.
And look for the blogs and find it. It's going to give you excellent information. Reconciliation, Brian.
Yeah.
So it's going to go to the House. The House is in the recess. The House is in the recess until the first week of next month. Okay? And the key is to get this bill before the president for signature before the midterm election,
Yeah.
which is in November.
Yeah, this is pure politics. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the Democrats want to get something done. They've been trying this since the beginning of the year. They want to get something done, so in November people will vote for them.
So I see no change in no immigration before November.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to take a risk because there are some Democrats in conservative areas that any immigration discussion can sink them
Yeah.
for re-election, and within a very tight 50-50 split Senate, and with the momentum swinging in direction of the Republican, except for Roe v. Wade
Yeah.
overturning it,
Yeah.
and now that can everything
creates
is up, everything up in
excitement on the other side, yeah.
Everything is up in the air. I don't think anybody's going to bring immigration this year.
No, it's cynical. It's cynical, but you know.
One more year, no immigration reform.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
I thought that. Well, we thought that they would have gotten. They're close. It's I can never say never, Sam, because it does seem to have bipartisan support, generally speaking. The problem is every time it comes up, it gets some other painful issue attached to it, some sort of poison pill. As it is.
So there's a lot of talk about the terminology in pill right now in the news about immigration law and poison pill. So explain to our audience what is a poison pill so they understand the dynamics of immigration reform and this legislation, how it all works together.
Well, I mean, the context of the reconciliation bill, poison pills are essentially things that where some actors might have wanted to force votes on certain hot-button immigration issues like border security and asylum policies, and they were trying to force Democrats to take stances on these things that wouldn't be popular. But I mean, you can apply that poison pill to any sort of context. As soon as the way politics works is that bills get put together, wrapped up in big packages, and as soon as something gets added, that it just makes it impalatable.
So let's do it in simple terms.
Sure.
So now we have a bill. Let's assume it has an immigration component, and then
a nice one like green card recapture.
Recapture.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Republican will come and say, we will support recapture if you include this one amendment to fund building the wall at the southern border. So now there is an amendment on the floor. So for the whole bill to move forward, they have to vote on this amendment. So the Democrats was going to have to vote down this amendment, including the specific Democrats who may be in the vulnerable locations because they are in a conservative area. So now they will say, look, he voted no for the wall. Now, that person could very well be for the wall, but he had to vote no because he wanted the bigger bill to go through. So that's called a poison pill, to kind of get people to vote no on things that can sink them in the next election. So that's a strategy used to get people who are in vulnerable districts in trouble. To avoid that, they are not going to include any immigration to not allow any discussion on immigration altogether. And that's what the opposing bill is. Let's take a couple more questions.
Yes. Let's see what we got here. So from Shashi, I downgraded to EB3 in October 2020, interfiled on June 6, 2022. Case moved to San Bernardino on 29th of July. Can I expect my green card before September 30th, 2022? Expect is a strong word, but I wouldn't be surprised if you got yours before September 30th, 2022. Don't believe it until it's in your hand, is my take.
Well, the interfiled June 2022, June 6, 22, so that's not too far back. But I think, have you received the receipt notice for the supplement J? Is my question, because that's really the first hint that the file is bubbling on somebody's desk. So if you have, then the chances are better that you will get it before September.
I guess that for me, that transfer notice means we're sending your file to somebody who might work on it, and that supplement J receipt says somebody's working on it.
Yes. So that's the question for me. And if you've gotten those, then the chances are higher. If you haven't, then they haven't looked at the file yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting that USCIS is planning to approve about 100,000 green cards, employment-based, in the last 3 months, the last quarter of the fiscal year. Yeah. So, I mean,
I'm seeing the approval is slowing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm seeing. I'm not counting exactly, but a couple of weeks ago there was a time it was just like it was a rain, a thunderstorm of them coming down, and now I don't see as often.
Well, they have their work cut out for them. That's
and one of the things we've talked about is there is an uptick in RFEs.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's what I've seen anecdotally, of course.
Yeah. So there's
RFEs are a good thing and a bad thing.
We had a presentation on how to handle interviews, so you can get the approval right there and then. That will also translate very well to RFEs. If you get an RFE and you handle it very well, you can the response to the RFE is to close the file and approve the case. Yeah. So an RFE is possibly a good thing. Let's go to the next one, Brian.
Let's see what we got. From Animesh Tawari. So what are the chances of 3rd December 2014 EB2/EB3? So I will give you a copy of the Visa Bulletin, Sam. I didn't mean to keep it away from you.
No, but I remember the dates.
No, I remember the date too. So EB2, if you're looking towards October 2020, because September's out, and unfortunately that date's not current yet. I mean, EB2, that date is a very good chance it'll be current in October 2020. Yes. Look, I mean, we are at 1st of December 2014 right now. So I feel bad for you, Animesh. You're so close to being current as it is. You're just 2 days off from being, or 3 days off from being current. You have to be before. Yeah. But in October 2020, I would expect that final action date to become current, because the factors at play are, one, is USCIS going to use up all the green cards they have available? There's a pretty good chance of that. In fact, they had a little bit of commentary on the Visa Bulletin, Sam, in the end of it here. Here it is. I marked it on my copy. This is the Department of State saying, so this is something different from what we've been seeing from USCIS. Most employment-based preference category limits and or the overall employment-based preference for fiscal year 2022 are expected to be reached during September. So that's Department of State echoing what USCIS has said, that we are expecting all these green cards to be used. And they're saying, here's what happens if it happens. If at any time an annual limit were reached, it would be necessary to immediately make preference categories unavailable, and no further requests for numbers would be honored. So they're talking about, this is our contingency plan. We will mark the Visa Bulletin as unavailable if it turns out we use all the visas before the end of the fiscal year.
Right. So not only are they saying they are going to use all of them, they're saying that we may use all of them
a little bit early.
Early, meaning that before October, we may approve all of them. Are you kidding me?
Speaking of early, Sam, I got to comment briefly on the Visa Bulletin, release date. They've been trending earlier. We travel back in time to October 2020, Sam, I remember it was really, about the last week of the month where we were in a meeting talking about, priority dates and that sort of thing, and we got word that they were going to go by final action dates. We are just barely outside the first week of August, and we have a visa bulletin for the next month.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and this is it was the same for last month, and I can't help but hope that we will see an early visa bulletin next month.
There's absolutely no reason not to do that.
Yeah.
It gives everybody more time.
Yeah.
It makes sense, right?
Well, there's a little bit of commentary on the end of the visa bulletin. It says, we put this out based upon, USCIS, when USCIS gives us the data necessary. So again, as assuming I'm interpreting this correctly, it says on August 2nd, USCIS provided the required data to the visa office, meaning, that's when they got it. So all in favor of, USCIS keeping better track of their numbers, giving that information to the Department of State early so we get earlier visa bulletins.
Yep. And the number that they have put in here for green card that they are going to approve this year, hopefully, is 281,507 green cards. All right, sounds good. Let's take the next question.
Yeah, let's see what we got. So, any prediction for the October visa bulletin?
But that is going to be a session that we are going to maybe do next week, Brian, or maybe we have done that, right? We've done our prediction, but we have a revision.
Yeah, so as we get closer to October, our numbers will get really accurate right when the October visa bulletin comes out.
And it's most accurate the day after the visa bulletin comes out.
That's when we will be at peak accuracy. However, we'll have an update because one, we'll have more data from the Department, better refined data from the Department of State, as well as updated data from USCIS. They only and we'll have updated data from USCIS because we'll also know how many of these green cards are actually getting through. Because the big factors at play is USCIS issuing all the green cards they have available this year, and how many green cards will be available next year.
But for them to even suggest that they're going to go to an unavailable, for me, is interesting.
USCIS has previously said that they are well positioned to use all of visas available to them this year. Department of State says, hey, Department of State and USCIS are using these things like fiends, and we're contemplating the possibility of marking the visa bulletin as U for unavailable when they're all used. And we know that USCIS has said they've approved 176,000 green cards. This is as of the end of June, meaning they have about 106,000 to go for the last 3 months of the fiscal year. And
I'm going to reread this slowly because you read it fast.
I read everything fast, Sam. I'm sorry.
It's okay, but this is something that people need to kind of digest. If at any time an annual limit were reached, it would be necessary to immediately make the preference category unavailable under no further request for numbers would be honored, and no further requests for numbers would be honored. That's kind of saying, and that is under the heading of availability of employment-based visa during the month of September.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. So this reminds me of it. I was, for those who don't know, I was not here live last week. I was in Philadelphia for a green card interview, and I had an interesting conversation with that officer. That officer says, okay, just to let you guys know, this officer wanted to get something from me via email before he approved the case. Just to let you guys know, visas are being chomped up all the live long day. He asked me, is the client available on the visa bulletin now? Yes. Okay, that sounds good, but people just like me across the country, thousands of us, are using them up constantly, and just be aware that you could be done before you know it. He cautioned us to get stuff into them fast because they're there.
This is crazy stuff.
Yeah.
This is crazy stuff, which means definitely it's going to be an aggressive jump next year in the visa bulletin. Brian, H-1B second lottery.
Yeah.
So the number of applicants were outrageously high this year.
Yes. So I want to give maybe a yes. So
it was incredibly high, the highest ever.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was like half a million.
I didn't hit 500,000. Shortly over 400,000.
Okay.
So
one of the things, I think while H-1B caps are up because it's very easy to register now. It's a $10 fee. You do it through a website. It's very easy to toss your name into the hat. You don't have, previously, historically, you have to put together an entire H-1B petition to toss your name into the hat, right? And that means that was a lot of work for a company, to put together an entire H-1B case that would never be filed. Now you just, fill out a 5-question form regarding the individual. They're in the loop. They're in the cap.
And how many people applied for so many different companies, and they're trying to kind of close that in and trying to make it more restrictive, but individuals can apply for different employers who do not know each other and are not in collaboration with each other to do that, to game the system.
If you're an important, smart guy or gal, you have multiple job offers, throw me in the H-1B cap, company A, B, and C.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people doing that.
So you are dancing really around the reason for the second cap. There are people who are selected, right? And if a case is not filed for that person, once that filing deadline is hit, and it was 6:30 for the first round, basically, if there's no case received for that selection after that date, USCIS knows they have an unused slot under the H-1B cap.
I don't believe USCIS selected somebody twice, though.
What do you mean?
I mean, this is somebody applied for 50 different employers.
Yeah.
And he got 3 selections. That's not happening. I'm not aware of somebody getting multiple selections.
I don't know. I think it's. I believe it's happening.
It is possible.
Yeah. I believe that they are happening. I don't believe they look into that sort of detail. I'm sure somebody out there.
Because it's the same passport number, the same person. I mean, I guess if that's the case, then the second lottery is very high. The chances are very high.
But so. Every time somebody gets selected, so whether that happens, I can't say for sure because
we haven't seen it in our. Well, we don't have multiple companies with multiple people.
That's it's a needle in a haystack to find 2 companies having them both be our clients filing for the same guy.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, anytime there was a registration and anytime somebody chose not to go through with the case, that creates an opportunity for a slot in the second round. So it's not new H-1B cap numbers being available; it's unused ones because they either denied a case. Or they somebody just didn't file it.
Right. And
so is one likely? Most certainly there's going to be a second round. It's just a matter of the size of it. And I can tell you this, Sam, the demand to actually file through and file those H-1B cap selected cases was higher this year than it was in past years.
I haven't looked at the percentage of how many cases that we have filed that were selected. Is it like 90% of our cases get filed and 10% didn't?
I couldn't tell
because
you.
we are representative of most law firms in the country that does high volume filings. But there has been a percentage that it did not go through.
Well, exactly. There are plenty of cases that were not filed, and that means it's an opportunity for somebody to get picked in the second round. And that second pick should be soon. Because, based upon last year, as we've seen it around this time in the month of August. So, we are waiting for that to come.
Yep. Well, is it JC Reddy next or
I think it's Subhashish Mundal.
Okay, Subhashish, let's go for some.
So,
June 2016, EB2 becoming current in 2023.
June 2016.
That's the question that we've had. It's a year and a half jump. It's not impossible. It's likely, but not highly likely.
That was on the fringes of our predictions. So
and our prediction is going to tighten down a little bit.
Yeah,
as we zoom in. So I would say that is maybe becoming slightly outside.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
But one thing that we cannot account for, Sam, is how many. One of the things that we were thinking about was USCIS adjustment of status inventory. Actually, I was thinking more about duplicate I-140 filings. I was talking to somebody about this.
That's an excellent point.
It's how many. Raise your hand out there if you've had multiple I-140s through multiple employers. And those are things where when I was making predictions, I was looking at the volume of I-140s that have been approved in 2015 and 2016.
And how many in the pipeline?
Yeah. But that is the pipeline, approved I-140s in those fiscal years. But if it was a second I-140 for somebody who had an older priority date,
that doesn't affect the next year, because what happened is this year is this year, next year is next year. There's going to be a cutoff. If they approved up to 281,000, whatever that number is, right here, that's it. They're going to stop. Next year we have 140,000 plus overflow.
Yeah.
So the question is not how many in the pipeline. The question is how much overflow.
Oh,
and
yeah.
overflows it
Well,
depend on the State Department.
No, I was looking. USCIS does publish I-140 approvals every fiscal year, and I was looking in how many I-140s they had approved in fiscal year 2015 and fiscal year 2016.
Which is about 40,000 apiece.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit more.
35,
Yeah,
40,000.
a little bit more than that. I think. And the question is, how many of those are real new I-140s of people who would be filing for adjustment for the first time in when those dates become current? Because I was thinking about those. It could be people with older priority dates who already got their green card actually, and that was like a second or third I-140. So that's a possibility. It's kind of hard to pin it down for sure.
We talk about this all day long, you and I, whenever we have time, right?
Yeah.
My prediction is that number is not going to be dependent on the movement of the visa bulletin for next year, in my opinion. That I-140 number. However, we think it's on the fringes of being selected right now, and we can probably revise it within a week or two. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Let's take JCP ready.
JCP ready.
With the bulletin out, where do you see EB2 date projections? We just, I think, talked about that, right? Already. Have you looked at USCIS data from Medavin versus USCIS case? So we've looked at USCIS data, and we will continue to look at more data, and that is going to be in the next release of our presentation the next week or the week after. We're going to give you a lot more interesting details.
Yeah, and that will include looking at Medavin v. USCIS.
Yes.
So.
All right, wonderful.
So from Sachin, I have an EB3 I-140 approved in February 2022. And earlier, the Perm was approved in 2021, and the Perm has a job qualification experience that matches the EB2 as well. Can I use the same Perm to apply an I-140 for EB2 category? So I'm going to state it back to make sure I'm understanding it. I think somebody's saying, I have a Perm that states a qualification that would qualify for EB2, but we chose to file my I-140 in the EB3 category. Can I now come back and file on EB2 I-140 based upon that Perm? And the answer is?
Oui.
Yes.
In French.
Yes.
Yes, we can do it.
Yes, that's as long as the Perm is drafted to cover the EB2 category.
But
yes,
I'm curious, why did you go with the EB3?
Sam,
I think some people did that.
I talked to because EB3 was ahead for a while. I talked to somebody recently who had filed their I-140. In
it was a date for filing that was ahead, not even the final action date.
Yes, But I talked to somebody who was convinced that EB3 was going to stay ahead, and they filed their I-140 accordingly, and now they're going to be going back and doing the same thing.
Not a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Good question. Good answer, Brian. All right, let's go for the next one. Okay, so Ganesh, what is my chances of getting green card filed in April with priority date current from June? Responded NABC related RFE 40 days back. Any hope of green card before the new spillover for country India?
So that's got to be non-availability of birth certificate, NABC.
Right.
So they are trying to resolve these things before the end of the fiscal year. So
if your response on that is good and convincing, you have a good chance. If your response is not good,
yeah,
I mean, I'd like to see the quality of the RFE response.
Yeah, I mean, they have exactly. They have pretty clear policy. I'm going to presume, based upon the name Ganesh, that you are from India, and it's also the fact that you've been waiting for this green card for so long. And they have pretty clear Department of State policy as to when you should be able to provide a birth certificate from India. And if you are outside of that, they might put additional scrutiny on it.
In a situation like this, given time, I would always love to jump also in adding, if you can, secondary evidence like school records, medical records. And, anything that has your name and your mom's name, your dad's name, old stuff, just pile it up in the response.
Short answer is, I agree with you. Quality of the RFE response is fundamental, because they want to make, if somebody out there is looking at your case, they want to make a good decision. That RFE response should make it very easy for them to feel that they are making a good decision in improving the case.
And that question and that specific RFE is 100% up the alley of the local offices, because they handle a lot of family cases. So they are more versed in birth certificates and these kind of documentation. They spend a lot of time with family cases looking at those. So you got to convince them they have a good eye and a good experience. So you do a good job with that RFE response. You should get an approval.
Yeah.
You do a marginal job, they may take more time.
I mean, I'll talk more. But I love non-availability of birth certificates. It's one of my favorite issues. You know, when I deal with it for India, I usually tell people, first step is to go back and try to register the birth, because some places will let you register it, you know, when you're a full-grown adult. They'll let you register it today. And if they say no, then they issue you a letter. Once you have that letter, USCIS is willing to accept all that good secondary evidence you mentioned, religious, medical, school records that are old and show what's your name, where you were born, in lieu of a birth certificate. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, sounds good. So shall we jump back on prevailing wage processing timeline issue? So this has been a little bit of
it's something I get asked about a ton, and it's a frustrator. So anybody who's not aware, mostly related to perm, but it is a popular question right now because we just saw a lot of people saying, you know, when can I change my job? When can you change your job is, you know, if you need a new perm/I-140 and you have a close priority date, you need to know when those perm processing times are and how long they're going to take. And that's the problem. Prevailing wage processing times, you're looking at about, you know, 6 to 7 months to get a prevailing wage from the Department of Labor. And that is a precursor to being able to file a labor certification case.
And it used to take 15 days to get one of these. When they started this, when they re-engineered the perm, I don't know, what the heck, 2005?
2004, 2005, maybe it's 2005.
When they came back with the re-engineered labor certification, it is designed to be fast and quicker, and we're going to show you how good it is. Every time we fired that prevailing wage, it came back in 15 days. And 7 days to issue the certification.
Yeah, and I've seen better times than this, Sam. You know, like 3-month prevailing wages.
Yeah.
I'd be killing for that right now.
Right now, it's ridiculous. What it takes practically 4 minutes to do, it's taking 6 months.
You know, that's what really gets my goat. See, all they have to do, Sam, is pick a job code, find your location. That's easy. They give you location and prevailing wage. Pick a job code, pretty easy, and pick one of four wage levels.
I'd like to go to their office and find out who's sitting on that stack.
Yeah. I mean, the worst part is, Sam, is most of the people out there, these are, you know, most of the people who immigrate to the United States, professional folks, high-end engineers, information technology, they're getting paid top wages anyway. I want to be able to just take a waiver of the prevailing wage request, you know, and just say I'll take the top wage for the code they're obviously in, and just
move on.
Yeah, I mean, for the clients, most of the clients we deal with, you know, $125,000 for a computer programmer. Of course, we're paying him more than that anyway. Why are you making him wait for a prevailing wage to tell us to pay him? You know,
what we're paying him already.
Paying tens of thousands of dollars less than he's already getting. Yeah.
So it's been a problem, and somebody has to take it up. Everybody's been tolerating it.
I don't know.
We need to start raising a stink about this.
Well, it sounds like a problem of money fundamentally, Sam. You know, USCIS, for people who don't know, they take filing fees, and those filing fees fund the agency. And Sam, we don't pay filing fees for H-1B LCAs, perm prevailing wages, or perm filings themselves. There've been talk about a filing fee for perm for a long time. It doesn't exist, and that's that.
Very frustrating. Charge us a couple $100 to do it, and get us the stuff on time.
I know tons of people who
I'm happy to pay more.
Oh yeah, is there any way I can expedite this? And I have to say, unfortunately, it's not like USCIS where you can pay $2,500 for premium processing. Because I know tons of people who would pay that immediately, even though it stinks, because that's a lot of money and they shouldn't be sucking that out of people.
Yep, I got a question from Arun here.
Yes.
I think the one above it.
Okay, don't want to skip.
My employer filed green card under EB3 India. Priority date April 2015. I have a master's degree. A bachelor's 3 years plus MCA, 3 years equal US equivalent MS Computer Information Systems as per CERT evaluation with 8 years of experience. All right, there's a follow-up.
Yeah. Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay. So
next one right there.
There we are.
I requested an EB2 upgrade. The employer told me that my master's degree is not quality for EB2.
Oh, this is a super great question. Which
so let's go back to the top with the details.
This is something which I don't. Which is it's just a great question.
Yeah. So it's a 3 plus 3.
Yeah, it's 3 plus 3 plus
It's
3.
a bachelor's 3 years plus MCA 3 years equal US MS.
A 3 plus 3 would usually get a master's degree.
That's what my immediate impression.
Yeah, I thought
tells me.
I thought it was a 3 plus 2.
Yeah, 3 plus 3.
Sam, we're shouting numbers. We have to explain to people what we're talking about, I guess.
He knows.
Well, he knows.
A lot of those guys know, but let's go over it.
So, in the United States, a bachelor's degree is 4 years.
Right.
And all of our laws are written about a bachelor's degree being 4 years.
Right.
So when we're dealing with foreign credentials, India, elsewhere, basically the government's concerned about making sure you have the right number of years of education to be equivalent, more or less, is the simple way I'll break it down.
Yeah.
And when we see a 3-year bachelor's plus a 3-year master's, that equals 6 years, right? And a U.S.
That
bachelor's
should be equivalent to a U.S. master's degree. So he said, my employer tells me that. I respect your employer. Your employer is probably right. I'm not challenging your employer, but you could do your own evaluation.
Yeah, go to a credential evaluation service, tell them that you want a credential evaluation for the purposes of Perm labor certification and I-140, and they can tell you.
You don't want to go. You want to go with one with experience in immigration law. Go to the AILA.org website, USCIS AILA website, American Immigration Lawyers Association. These agencies, these professionals advertise there all the time.
Well,
and it's not expensive.
One thing I was thinking about this is, I requested an EB2 upgrade. The employer said my master's degree
is not qualified for EB2.
I thought maybe there was a labor certification that said it was drafted as an EB3 labor certification, even though you have a master's degree. And I thought maybe that was the case. But if they're saying your master's degree does not qualify for EB2, that's that.
Yeah, miscommunication happened.
Also, I can think of it. Maybe your field doesn't align with what the qualification. The master's
we can
field.
speculate.
Yeah, I can speculate.
We can speculate all day.
That.
Yes, but here's the bottom line: you need to confirm whether or not your 3 years of undergrad and 3 years of grad is equivalent to a U.S. master's degree in the field of study. That's really the question. It's not what your employer says. It's not what the other attorney says. It's not what I say. It's not what Brian says. It's what it is based on an expert opinion.
Yeah.
So you need to find the right expert. It's not expensive process. You can go to AILA.org, American Immigration Lawyers Association. Those folks advertise there all the time. Contact them and see if they can give you an evaluation for a green card. You have to be very clear that you want what they call a single source evaluation. That's the term, single source evaluation, or a green card evaluation, and see what they tell you. And if they give you information inconsistent with what the employer told you, enlighten your employer. Your employer is not an expert in the field. He's being told by other people. Yeah. So enlighten your employer, share with him your information. Hopefully it resolves itself. Yeah. All right.
Arun had a follow-up question, so let's hit it. So, do you think the EB3 India filing date would move to 2015 in the October 2023 visa bulletin? So,
right now it's in 2012, right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it is in 2012 right now for EB3. So, I'm presuming that's not a typo, and you really are intending to ask about October 2023. I cannot predict that far in the future. That's for sure.
Well, let's say October 2022 and assume that he is a typo.
Yeah.
So for this October, it's September 2012. It will not reach, obviously, the 2015 date. Yeah. Now, that's a 3-year jump for 1 year. I am skeptical on a very early determination for 2023, but it is absolutely correct. It's too early to tell for a year out prediction. My goodness, I need 3 crystal balls on top of each other for that one.
So,
all right.
Well, the follow-up question is, filing EB2 with a different employer in the future is a better option given the new perm processing delays. So, how long does it take to get a perm, Sam? We did a nice presentation maybe about a month ago, basically about what's going on in perm. It's gives you the kind of the details, but the numbers are still holding. It's about 6 to 7 months to get a prevailing wage, 6 to 7 months to processing the labor certification itself,
and 2 to 3 months for recruitment and the attorney's work.
And that's assuming a real traditional straightforward case. There might be some ways they can be sped up, but it's
without an audit.
Yeah. Yeah, look at about a year and a quarter to a year and a half to make it through the perm process entirely, and so that's something to keep in mind. It's you're judging how long will a new perm take versus when do I think my priority date's going to become current in my category that I'm in right now.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we have talked about reconciliation bill, so I'll update everybody, and we're intertwining those with answering questions. We've talked about the September visa bulletin. We've touched on the H-1B second lottery.
Yeah.
Talked a little bit about prevailing wage determination and the timeline for that.
Yeah.
We've covered our topics.
Oh, we didn't talk about the processing. We talked about it in vague terms, but there's some interesting charts we have available.
Let's go ahead and deal with those charts and bring them in here to share with everybody.
Yeah, so let's go to our little PowerPoint slide here. So this is, we spent some time looking into the USCIS green card processing trends, and just for the last since really October 2020, and just to see where we are right now, what things have looked like. And
so, two clarifications on that chart. So when you say USCIS green card processing, that means adjustment of status.
Yes, this is adjustment of status is for USCIS.
And this chart is received adjustment cases.
Yeah, for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarters.
And these are employment-based, Brian.
Employment-based green cards, yes.
Employment-based adjustments.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop on this chart for just a brief second, Sam, but I think it's an interesting chart because it shows how the data, it doesn't really comport with reality as I believe it. Because it says in Q1 of fiscal year 2021, this is October 2020, they received, about 90,000 cases, and then they received a whole bunch more of them in Q1. That gets my goat, Sam, because this is pulled from official USCIS data. I know that every immigration attorney was filing all of their green card cases in Q1 of fiscal year 2021 because we didn't know that priority dates would still be current in Q2. We didn't know priority dates would be current beyond October, let alone November.
But you know why?
Well, USCIS took a zillion years to process these cases, right?
To open the envelopes.
Yeah, so I guess this, if we are all trying to make predictions based upon USCIS data, I guess what I'm saying is, you can't trust USCIS data 100%.
Yes.
But I'm going to keep on going with some of these trends we were looking at. Yeah. So this is approvals. This is, we start here in fiscal year 2021, and this is first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. That's when they get approved 84,000 green cards, right? And then we're into this fiscal year. For this fiscal year already, they're already above, their poor performances for the first couple quarters of last year. But this data, don't blame me for the data, Sam. This data is old because USCIS has been slow to let it out. This is only good through March of 2022.
And that's when they started to ramp up after the release of this data. So we really don't have a picture except statements.
Yes, and they said they approved 176,000 green cards. But
so that chart would have been nice to put a dotted line where the 175 would have been, because it would have been shining up.
It's very easy to backseat chart, Sam.
Yeah. Well, but it's not an official data.
Yeah.
It's not an official number.
Well, so this is where they publish this. Here's how we process cases. Mm-hmm. But here we are, Q1 about 30-some thousand, Q2 actually even a little bit less. But now they've said they've made it up to 176,000, meaning they have 100,000 to go. And when people ask me, is it possible to approve 106,000 green cards in the last quarter? I look to this piece of data right here. They got to about 84,000 green cards approved in the last quarter of the prior fiscal year, and they were less organized, less prepared, and frankly, they were talking less of a big game. They weren't walking around saying, we're going to issue all those green cards. They weren't confident at all. So they got 84,000 in that, in that disaster of a quarter. I think they can. This is why I can think. I think
they can meet it.
They can meet it. Department of State says they can on this visa bulletin. USCIS says it on their website. We're well positioned, and the data says that in worse times they've come pretty close to what they need to do in a single quarter.
Well, I only have to go back to the last time when the State Department made everything current.
Yeah.
I don't know what year was that. Maybe 2008, 2009, made everything current because they were frustrated with USCIS for not providing enough information, and we ended up filing hundreds of thousands of adjustment cases. And just trying to stop it, what they've done, they pulled all these officers back to their offices and told them, pull every visa number and approve every case until you run out of numbers. And that's when they did that in 2 weeks. They shut down all the numbers, so they're capable of issuing approvals if they want to do it. So it looks like maybe their mindset to get it done.
Yeah.
And the denial trend is interesting, Brian.
I'll put it back up there.
Yeah.
So people always ask, Sam, what are the odds that my green card is going to get denied? And then, this is kind of interesting because the denials are counted in the thousands, where at peak times, like here in Q4 of 2021, where they approved 84,000 cases, USCIS denied 2,000 some. So
I don't know. Is that even 1%? I don't know what that number.
Probably it's got to be a little bit more than 1% because it's less than 100,000. That's more than 2,000. But one thing I don't know, Sam, is how many of these. When USCIS denies a case, they're going to deny cases that are duplicate filings as well. So it'll be really interesting to see as people who have multiple filings, and maybe this is what we're seeing in these first.
So the denial are virtually non-existent.
Yeah. People get their green cards denied. If somebody tells you it's impossible, they're lying to you. But if somebody says it's, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just a little last one, Sam, that's kind of perplexing to me. This is their pending cases, as they indicated, on employment-based green cards on a quarter-by-quarter basis. So some of this makes sense to me. So there's Q1 2021. Look at that. They got a bunch of cases, and they say this is when it really got in. And basically, it stayed high. It has stayed high and is continuing to go up.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And I realized I may have skipped one of my charts. I think I had one related to received cases, and I thought it was kind of interesting. That was the first.
You received the very first one.
Yeah, I want to go back to it real quick. It's just something I want to show. This, part of this to me, Sam, is this is again the received chart now. It's about visa bulletin control is really what I see. This is the visa bulletin here being rushed forward. And then basically they stop themselves at what we've been saying for a long time. They don't want new cases. They're really getting minimal new cases because they have not moved the visa bulletin beyond where it was right here.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Excellent. So let's take a question here. We got a few more minutes. I'm sure it will be nice to take some more questions before we conclude today's events. And we got Yogesh asking, looking at the September visa bulletin remarks at the end of the page about making visa unavailable by September.
Yeah, let's continue.
Is it a good sign if all visa will be unlisted and not much, every little wasted, or
very little wasted? Yeah.
Do you still hold to your prediction for October visa bulletin after seeing September visa bulletin? Well, first of all,
we are going to be coming back with an updated presentation on our thoughts on it'll have a big name like October visa bulletin predictions.
But yes, that's a good sign. It's a surprising one for me that they're still sticking to it, because I am a skeptic when it comes to them approving all of them. So that's amazingly positive. Hasn't happened yet. And our prediction for the October visa bulletin will be released on a revised basis within a week or two.
Yeah, but the bottom line is we still see, we have better data in terms of better confidence that USCIS and Department of State are going to use the available visas. Maybe our numbers in terms of, overflow come down a bit, but we still predict overflow. And as Department of State releases data, maybe we'll have July data by the time we get that out.
Yep. Let's go to the next one. Vivek. My priority date is EB3 2015. I filed my I-140 2022 in March and still waiting for approval. Is it worth doing premium processing for I-140, or is it okay to file adjustment with I-140 pending?
So you're legally allowed to file your adjustment of status while your I-140 is pending. Is there a risk there, Sam?
There's a risk in everything, but I would absolutely not hold the I-140.
Yeah.
I mean the I-485. I don't file it. Whether or not you go with premium processing, it has nothing to do with whether or not you should file your I-485 now. Yeah. File your I-485
as soon as possible.
Okay, don't
People
hold
who don't file their I-485 end up kicking as soon as they can, end up kicking themselves.
They will regret it. Whether or not you want to upgrade to premium processing, that's usually a company decision. But if you can do it, heck yeah, get it done. Get that I-140 approved. It gives you more benefits.
Yeah, for me,
more stuff for you with an approved
Yeah,
I-140.
for me, a well-planned I-140, a well-planned labor certification I-140, odds are you're going to see that I-140 approved anyway. So thereby, your risk is low.
Yeah. All right, sounds good.
A
So
little bit of follow-up from Vivek here.
sure.
If my priority date becomes in the future, any benefit to doing one over the other? Basically waiting, premium processing. No.
Get you on 45 now, and
Well, you can't file yet, but
if it's not current, if it's not current, you can't file. The moment it gets current, whether it's pending or approved, file it right away. And if you're able to do I-140 premium processing, do it.
Well,
It's not complicated unless.
Well, I have some thoughts. I'm thinking about it.
I'm sorry to throw in that unless child status protection.
Well, Child Status Protection Act, yeah, for that purpose, you might want to have a long I-140 processing time. But, if you find, basically, USCIS does get into weird I-140 backlogs, and there are people out there who are waiting for their I-140s to be approved, and that's a bar to getting their adjustment approved. I guess when your priority date is current, that's when it matters to have an approved I-140, and that's when you really it really makes it worth your time to upgrade to premium processing.
Yep. All right, so take Tammy, Brian.
Okay.
Tammy.
Hi, Sam and Brian. Hi, Sam. Hi, Brian. My priority date is in April, I'm going to zoom 2015 EB1 with no movements. No, that can't be right. EB1 would be current for anybody at this.
Well, hi, Brian. My priority date is 2015. Let's assume AB1 with no movement of date. Okay, so maybe AB2 or 3.
Yeah.
In recent September bulletin released today, and potential spillover less than 40,000 will get a chance to file R5 in fiscal year 2023. So if he's saying no movement, there's no movement of dates in recent September, so that's EB3.
Yeah, the visa bulletin didn't, as I read it, hasn't moved for anybody, EB2 or EB3. I'm going to presume this is EB2. I'm going to look what's next to the 2 button on my keyboard, and the 1's right next to. Presuming that's a 1, I'm going to 2 is right next to 1.
Fine with me. I'll take it.
I think there's still a good chance of getting there. We see visa movement. October is when visa bulletins move, and there's going to be. I mean, everybody I think at this point agrees that there's going to be some sort of spillover, and obviously, Department of State and USCIS will tell us eventually how much there is, but it's going to be something.
Yep.
And any of it is good for everybody.
Yep. All right. Ram Raju. Hi, Sam. If we raise a case inquiry with a senator, will it be pulled out of the queue, and does adjudication gets delayed? Getting a senator involved will not take a case out of queue whatsoever. It will only help a case if it is neglected or stuck or lost, and marginally. I don't see a lot of senator helping.
I've talked to a lot of people who have said I can't remember the last time where, and in respect to their offices, where I had a senator or congressperson help me on an I-485. It's probably been a couple years. I think I was a military case where somebody was moving, and they were able to accelerate a bit faster. And
I'm working so hard to get to this very important question that's coming up next.
Okay.
Read it, Brian, out loud.
Hi, Sam. You said you were a student in 1980. You still look as young as a student. Same with Brian. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We try to be young and healthy. Life moves on.
Sam is very healthy, and he's rubbed off on me, and I hate it. It's no fun being healthy.
Yeah. Brian runs every day in the morning, and I work out as well. We stay healthy, and that helps us also manage the stress of the practice.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But thanks for the comments, Sweet Seller. Made our day. All right, Kumar, any change in prediction and spillover date filing for next fiscal year? You will listen to our presentation next week or the week after, as we are going to get a refined date for you.
We have some updated data from the Department of State. Definitely have to consider that.
At the end of the hour here, we'll take 1 or 2 more. Tamay, hi Sam, Brian. My priority date is 2015.
Covered that one. That's a duplicate.
We got that one going. And moving on here, my family's I-45 approved, except my daughter I-4 transfer to FO. And priority date May 2010, can we expect approval before September 2022?
So, when I think of that one, I wonder how old the daughter is. If she's over the age of 21, I figure they could be doing CSPA analysis to make sure she is still eligible.
Priority date May 2010. That's an old priority.
That's an old priority date. Priority date. If your daughter, if your daughter was of any age, yeah, that's quite a long time.
Yeah. So you need to look at the Child Status Protection Act situation. Make sure you're 100% covered. And I mean, at this point, not much can be done to change it. Hopefully, it is positive for your daughter. But you can either wait or consult with your attorney to kind of get an understanding.
Yeah, I have seen just random. Yeah. I mean, I'm aware of kids out there who are much younger than 21.
That sounds like that for me is a senator call.
Yeah,
I would call a senator on that one, trying to push it because everybody's approved, trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah,
because it's either yes or no.
I have literally advised that on similar cases. Yeah,
exactly. 701 will take last one.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Rajini Gupta.
So,
does it mean EB3 will not move or no significant movement based on September bulletin? Well, the visa bulletin for EB3 has not moved this entire year. If you recall, a year ago, EB3 retrogressed 2 years and then held steady until now. Now, October, our prediction is a forward movement in EB3, a modest one, however.
Oh, yeah.
But stay tuned. We will give you an update, the visa bulletin prediction next week or the week after.
Yeah, I would just note that the big movement is in EB2 because the way the overflow visas get used, are they go into the highest categories first. They make all the EB1s current first, then it's make all the EB2 current first, and then only does overflow make it down to EB3, and that's why things are as they are right now.
And with that, we conclude our presentation today. I know we want to spend more time together. I hope our new presentation style interests you. Give us feedback. How did you like this? Starting with the question and then intertwining some of the substantive stuff in the middle. We're going to try to do that at least a couple times every month to try a creative variation.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Have a great